faces, guys. We still have missing children, adults, pregnant women. Please look at their faces. Okay, guys, so welcome to Talking News, Chasing a Murder. Please subscribe and like right now so you don't forget. Also, hit that notification bell if you want notifications. Right now, we're going on to part 3 of this Lori Vallow case. It's an absolutely crazy story. And every day it only gets worse. They just keep adding to the story. It's nearly difficult to even for me to get this out because there's so much to cover. So it starts off with Lori Vallow. She has 3 children. So out of those 3 children, 2 of them are missing. But this is her oldest son, Colby, through another marriage we won't mention. We won't mention him anymore either. I'd rather not even have shown him. But a lot of people are thinking I don't know about him. So there he is. And then we have Lori, who married Charles Vallow, who had together JJ Vallow. Well, she adopted JJ. And then you have Jay Ryan. That was her first husband. And together they had she's now 17, Tylee Ryan, who is missing. So both JJ and Tylee are both still missing. JJ 7, Tylee 17, and the story only gets worse because I'm going to introduce to you Alex Cox, which is Lori Vallow's brother, and he's also involved with a lot of these. Well, he's seen with the kids when they're last seen, at least Tylee. We'll go over that in a bit, but he's definitely involved with the other 2 ex-husbands of Lori Vallow. As far as Charles Vallow, he was seen at Lori Vallow's residence picking up JJ to take to school. And for Tylee Ryan's father, Mr. Ryan, it is said that Alex Cox and Ryan had actually got into several altercations, and even Alex Cox spent some time behind bars for that, which on another video we'll go in more details on that later. But that's not it. This girl you see in this picture with this young guy is Melanie, and she's married to Brandon Boudreaux, this guy right here. According to Brandon Boudreaux, he said that he's seen the deceased man's car, a Jeep, follow him on his way to the gym one day, and it shot at him and it missed his head by inches. According to Brandon Boudreaux, he said that he believed that Alex Cox was the shooter. So this is a crazy story. And you still have JJ, who his grandparents last spoke to him in August. They haven't seen him since that FaceTime video of August 2019. He was last pulled out of school in September. And then you have Tylee Ryan, in which she was last seen with her mother and her mother's brother, Alex Cox, at the Yellowstone Park. And since then, neither one of these kids have been seen by anyone. So I'm doing this quick cat, guys, in case people are coming in. So now we are going to start talking about Chad and Tammy Daybell. Chad is an author, a writer, and he's what they call a doomsday writer. And he's connected to the Mormon Church, as is his wife, lovely wife, Tammy Daybell. They were married 29 years when suddenly, he says he wakes up one morning only to find his wife passed away. She looked peaceful, according to him. And it was a short time later that Alex Cox, the brother of Lori Daybell / Vallow, passed away. And what's kind of crazy is they kind of have these similar, it's almost like they both were poisoned, and that's speculation. And you can check out part 1 and part 2 to get more information on that. And then, of course, I don't think people realize it, but the kids were missing during some of this timeline. So Charles Vallow is shot, according to Alex, by self-defense. And the 2 children were there. So Tylee and JJ and Lori were all 3 supposedly at the home when the altercation begun. Now, some stories say that Lori took the kids away, but some people say that the kids actually witnessed the whole thing. So anyways, shortly after all these deaths and all these attempts of deaths anyways, Lori Vallow's kids, they disappear, but people don't realize it, like I mentioned. And she ends up marrying Chad Daybell, which his wife passed away 2 weeks before, about approximately right at 2 weeks. And so this is why a lot of people are saying this story is just crazy. So first, what I want to do is kind of give you, I know that on part 3, I was going to give you Chad Daybell's background, but really, I want to start with Lori. I don't know a whole lot, but we know a little bit. So back in the day, she was known as Lori Cox, and she was a cheerleader in California. One of her cheerleading friends actually come forward to give us a little information what she knew about Lori, which wasn't much, really. And it's even stranger because she said that the cheer squad spent a lot of time at Lori Cox's house. According to Flores Lopez, she says that, you know, the Cox family was a very big family, and they were also, you know, very, very devout Mormons. And according to her, whenever they would go over there, everybody was very welcoming. But there was something different about Lori. Her day didn't start out with just waking up, doing your makeup, and heading to high school. She actually had to attend these religious educational classes in the morning before school. According to her friend, she never really spoke about her religion much. And so, you know, they really didn't know anything about Lori, her personal thoughts. Lori's parents were very supportive and would come to her cheer competitions. The friend described this family as a type of family that was quiet and kept to themselves. So according to Lori's friend that is speaking out, she's saying that she thought Lori was a bombshell, a Barbie doll, and she didn't see her dating a whole lot, but she did hang out with her girlfriends a lot. It was in high school that we hear that Lori actually married her first husband, which I'm not going to bring up too much more. So really, they're saying that she didn't really date until her senior year. And, well, she got married. According to her friend, you know, her future was actually guided by her faith. And she talked about attending Brigham Young University, which is a privately owned church, the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. So I don't want to say much more about that faith or that religion, but I do want to speak on the fact that she was very deep into it. So guys, on part, let's see, no, I don't want to do that. So the first marriage, we hear that Lori moved away, and her friends said that Lori was kind of a mystery. And after that, she said she really just didn't stay in contact with Lori. She stayed in contact with all the other girls except for Lori. So that tells you what kind of person Lori is. She really doesn't seem to create strong bonds at a very young age. Now, I can understand where people kind of isolate themselves. I do it. I mean, well, most of my family's gone anyways, but I'm more to myself now. And I don't mind that. I actually enjoy that very much. But here we have a high school girl. Now, this is your peak, when your peak social, is what I say. When you're a teenager, you are the most social you will ever be. And she really doesn't have that superior bond that she should have with those people she hung out with daily. At least with her cheerleading squad, right? So switching environments, guys, I apologize. So according to Flores Lopez, she says that she found Lori like 10 years later on classmates.com. There she found out that she had a son named Colby, and she was on her second marriage. So Lopez was actually just trying to reach out to her and, you know, check up on her and see how she's doing. but she doesn't say whether or not that works out for her. So Lori ends up marrying her third husband, who is Joseph Ryan. They had a daughter together, which is one of the missing kids. Her name is Tylee Ryan. Joseph died of an apparent heart attack in 2018, but there was no suspicions about that. We didn't hear if there was life insurance policies or anything like that, but we do have, him as an interest in this case. They're not able to exhume his body because he was cremated. Now, because this case is so huge, I'm not able to get all the details I would like to get. I'll eventually get them. But what is interesting about Joseph Ryan's story right now is his sister, Annie, went on the Dr. Phil show, sharing a little bit of information of how Lori let the family know about the death of Joseph Ryan. According to Annie, and I feel so bad for her, Lori did not let the family members know about his death until weeks later, which sounds all too familiar for the Charles Vallow family, who also say that Lori did not contact them about the death of Charles until, gosh, I think they said 36 hours. She let the sons know via text, which we'll speak on later. Let's get back to Joseph. Annie also said that she's seen this really big change in Lori Vallow in 2018. Guys, I'm not going to mention too much on the religion. I'm going to try not to. But anyway, she said she had a fixation on the end of time. And according to a few articles that were writing on this subject, they said that what Annie was saying about Lori fits in with what a lot of other relatives were also saying. So they believe that, she was concentrated on these end of days teachings and books and topics. And they kind of hopped around and skipped around talking about, what Annie feels about Lori. Annie says that she believes that she has no sense of what might have happened to Tylee, the teenage girl. She quotes, "And it just feels like Tylee, like her dad, just slipped away." So there's another instance where she does an interview for a news station. I can't remember which one. And she starts sharing some texts that her and Tylee share back and forth after the death of Joseph Ryan, and as well as Lori. In some text, she's describing that she's not doing so well, that her brother has passed away, which is normal. I mean, people grieve. And Tylee texts her in great support. You can see just this loving heart that this girl has, suggesting that she eat and make sure that she hydrates herself. Some of the other texts were kind of concerning, in my opinion, really. I mean, she says Lolo was crazy. And he says that her family, let me pause for a second, calls her Lolo, Lori Lolo. She continues with, "I saw a dark side of her when I was there, and it makes me question some of her claims." So you can see where Tylee's aunt, Joseph's sister Annie, is very concerned. Something just isn't right. I'm kind of worried the fact that she's telling the daughter this. She continues on with, "I doubt that, but I think she was much more a victim of a really nasty war between the two of them, and Lolo will win at any cost." So this text really put a lot out there to understand why these things are happening. It gives you an idea of who she is and how she reacts in a bad situation. Then the text continues. She says, "I regret going down there. She may be a sociopath." And then the last one here is way more. "That's what makes me feel Lori was a sociopath. To her, this is all a game." This is important information right here, guys. Annie feels like she had no empathy for has any suffering for anyone else who is experiencing, this loss. And this is including the daughter, Tylee. So to them, Lori or Lolo seems she lacks empathy. She has no concerns of how other people are dealing with the loss. And there's some hints that Lori has said with Jonathan Ryan being gone, that life would be so much better. So we must realize at this point, Tylee's starting to at least think about things that are being said to her. And she's probably taking a closer look at her mother. So especially with what happens next. So Lori's fourth husband, Charles Vallow. Alex Cox, Lori's brother, calls 911. He says that he had shot his brother-in-law, estranged brother-in-law, in self-defense. In some scenarios that we're hearing in this story, the kids were possible witnesses. Some cases, according to the police, she took her kids, both JJ and Tylee, and drove off for a while, and that's when this all happened. So Charles was about 62 years old. He did not make it, and Alex Cox is definitely part of this as well. So now they suspect that Alex Cox, Lori's brother, is it's a possible homicide that he committed in Lori's house. He says that he was hit in the back of the head by Charles, and that's when he decided to take action. Needless to say, it wasn't long, and Alex Cox, too, was found passed away. And they still haven't come forward with his cause of death. And I'm covering this briefly because we've already covered this one in part 2, part 1. So they think perhaps, the reason for Alex Cox no longer being here might be, he's quite a big witness to Lori's life. Not to mention the kids may have been a witness to what happened with Charles Vallow. And so a lot of experts who investigate homicides, private investigators and such. Okay, guys, have you ever heard of negative interference? This involves proving all expected normal routines that are not being met for a missing person. For example, a teenager may suddenly stop all their social media activity or stop speaking to all their friends and relatives. Especially continue to pursue life's milestones, like using their debit cards, getting a driver's license, applying for a job. This kind of activity that ceases with a person kind of might point to them no longer being here. Of course, we're hoping that's not the case, but the longer this case goes on that we don't hear from JJ or Tylee, and we don't see any of activity from them of any kind, it kind of closes that window that these guys are okay. And this is what worries me the most, because now I'm starting to get those doubts. But then again, knowing what she did with her kids with the Charles Vallow incident, I feel like maybe she persuaded those kids to lie. That's speculation, guys, nothing more. I feel there's a possibility that she could have taken the kids somewhere and have people lie for her. I certainly hope that's the case, because these kids are the most important part of this story, guys. It's not, yes, these guys that are dropping out like flies, we definitely care about them too, but these kids are so innocent. They do not deserve to be going through what they're going through. And the saddest part about it is they only have a handful of people that were able to get close to them. I think that's what bothers me the most. So I do want to mention where Tylee was last seen. She was last seen in September at Yellowstone National Park. And so this is 2 weeks before the last known sighting of her brother. And who was she seen with? So she was seen with her mother and Alex Cox. And that's what scares me most, is the fact that Alex Cox was there. Because what we're hearing, we don't hear there's a possibility of Lori's hands being part of any of these people that are dropping. But we do have a connection with Alex Cox. There's a possibility that it's at his hands, that these things are happening. I don't know if some of you guys know it, but I have dyslexia, so you'll hear me struggling. It is so hard for me to write or speak sometimes. So the problem with this case is not lack of information in a lot of cases for me. It's just each time I do another video, the story that I told before has new information added, and I feel like I need to add that information. I don't want my family going without anything, and I still have loads and loads of information I haven't covered. So I've got to get past on part 4, not having to go back and cover this again. So right now we do know, and I want to go ahead and get to this real quick, that once Lori Vallow's husband, Charles Vallow, has passed, and Tammy Daybell, there's a attempt on Brandon Boudreaux's life. So it's approximately 83 days later from July 11th, the shooting of Charles, till they shoot at Brandon. So that was on October 2nd. And get this, guys, Melanie Boudreaux, at the time she was Melanie Boudreaux, she says, well, her attorney says that they suggest that this was an elaborate manipulation from Brandon, that he made it up. If you listen to that 911 call, I don't think so. Oh, I want to make sure I mention this, guys. So on October 10th, Tylee sends Colby, her brother, money in a memo, I think it's Vimo, on Facebook. And on October 16th, Tylee uses, the Vimo and stuff again. So on October 19th, it's when Tammy Daybell passes away in her Salem home. And that's Salem, Idaho. And most importantly, Chad Daybell, the husband of Tammy, refused to have an autopsy. So on October 25th, a friend of Tylee receives a text from her phone. And it's approximately, just a little, at 2 weeks, approximately. They don't have an exact date, I think, on their marriage. Or I don't anyways. But it's approximately November 5th that Vallow and Daybell are seen get married in Hawaii. Now, mind you, both of these guys just lost some spouses. Chad was married, I think it was 29 years. Now, what I'm hearing, I have to double check this for you, is Chad Daybell was getting emails from Lori, and she was sending him videos of her dancing, and they have been in contact by email. And of course, we heard that they've done a few podcasts for the religion that they are in. But I do have some very new information on Chad Daybell, where when they went on a run from the police, they ended up in Hawaii, and they met with a woman to rent a room for the night. Now, this is a little confusing, and like I said, I still have to do a little bit more research on this. So this is mostly speculation, probably. And I want to say this lady was awesome for doing this, Jeannie Martin. She's out of Hawaii. She said this couple turned up unannounced at her home in Princeville, Hawaii on November 7th and asked to rent a bedroom from her. I want to do a shout out to Jeannie. Jeannie, please email me. Jeannie said the couple spent a few hours and acted like a very lovey-dovey type pair, she said, before finally agreeing to look over their rental application. She says she was researching online to find more information about them when she came across something that struck her as deeply alarming, an obituary for Chad's previous wife, Tammy Daybell. She said it's at that point that she sent Chad Daybell a lighthearted text expressing her condolences, and his reply was kind of chilling. So Chad says, I woke up that morning and she had been dead a couple of hours, but she had a peaceful look on her face at her burial. He continued to say, I felt her tell me she was happy and helping our family on the other side of the veil. And guys, if you've looked into this, you would know that the other side of the veil is probably another book that Chad Daybell has written. Now, I want to mention that it's probably this that really struck police to exhume Tammy Daybell's remains and do a thorough investigation. Not to mention that the speculation that there is evidence that says these two were hanging out and emailing each other way before Tammy, passed. Okay, so I'm wanting people to realize that nobody knows that JJ and Tylee are missing. It's not until November 26th, guys. So a family member calls the police and asks them to go check on them, to do a welfare check, and Cox then led the detectives to an empty apartment, which was number 107, saying that his sister might be there. Let me tell you guys, the timeline kind of makes no sense right now, at least for me. According to some things, they're saying that law enforcement stopped Daybell again, asking if he had seen JJ. After saying that Lori didn't have any young kids, he said that he last saw JJ in October. And he finally admitted to knowing Lori Vallow. So Chad ultimately gave them the phone number to find Lori. And later that day, detectives located her at an apartment at 175 and asked about JJ's whereabouts. And that's where she told them that JJ was in Gilbert, Arizona with a friend. So guys, we'll have to cover more on that later. I'm trying to get back to this lady that was talking with Chad and Lori in Hawaii. Okay, so here's the actual email is where Chad Daybell replies to Jeannie. He says, "Hi Jeannie, yes, Tammy's passing was such a shock, but she had such a peaceful look on her face. At her burial, I felt her tell me that she was happy and already busy helping our family on the other side of the veil. I felt she helped me reconnect with Lori so quickly, and it was has actually helped my children move forward." So yes, you see it, guys. He's giving credit to his wife on the other side, helping him connect with Lori. And I bet you that 43 pieces of evidence that they collect from Chad Daybell's home will put a stop to the manipulation. So for my personal thing, and this is where I call it talking news, guys, and I know you guys want to talk about it as well. If Chad Daybell is this great person that is, deeply religious, who really cares about people and his family, did he really give in to his darker side like this? To the point that he would take the life of his own wife, not saying he did, but somebody else, at least accept it because he refused an autopsy. And the fact that he got married so quickly and that he hasn't shown any concern for the children. It really aggravates me to no end, as I know it does you. It is very clear that a lot of this is not coincidence. Guys, I have to apologize. There's a lot of background noise on this one. I cannot help it. But I want to talk about Lori before I forget. We're down at the end of my time here. I've got like a couple minutes left tops. So Lori Daybell, what we're hearing from Annie, the Woodcocks, which I haven't had a chance to speak on. Other family members that know Lori said that she used to be this amazing mom. She was this mom that everybody wanted to be. And then she gets involved with the same group as Chad Daybell, religious group, right? And they say it's a doomsday. Some people calling it a cult. Drastically changes to the point she's said to have even threatened lives. Her niece lives beside her, who is also in this group, and her ex-husband's life is threatened. There's just so many crazy things going on. And so this woman suddenly is supposed to be this great mother, doesn't care that the world is looking for her children. And my gosh, I know it's just bothering the world. We want to know where those children are. And when the police gave her the option to, to come up with the children or there be consequences, she chose consequences. The rumor is that Melanie was married to Boudreaux. Possibly knows where the children are, but are not working with the police. Whether or not that is true, we don't know. We have heard from Brandon Boudreaux that he too says that Lori was nothing like this at one point, and that his wife is even, kind of went off the deep end since they joined this group. Now, I'll definitely have to do a part 4. And at that point, we're going to start talking about what we're talking about at the end here is these details of people that have come across Lori or Chad, the children. There's even said to have been a sighting at a concert. One person says they might have seen Tylee, but I doubt that. But she says she really believes she ran across Tylee at a concert, and that this girl went by the name of Amy. So one thing I do like to do, I like to document all of everything I learned in these cases so that I can go back and refer to my notes and compare them. Let me tell you, this case has had me so busy, I haven't even had time to reach out to the family to speak with them, because I usually speak with the family, at least a few of them, on the cases I cover. The only person I reached out to was Brandon Boudreaux, and I haven't heard anything back from him yet. Okay, guys, I'm so sorry. I hit my limit. I'm tired anyways. This case is wearing me out. I might take a few days break, I hope. But guys, please share Tylee and JJ's face everywhere you can. We are still looking for those children. Those are the main concern in this case. And I try to pop their face up here as much as I can. I love you guys. I really do. And I appreciate you guys watching. You're the reason that we're able, to keep these cases out there. And I guess I'll see you guys soon.